Hello, and welcome back to our Brew-A-Long series. Today, we are going to be brewing our Holiday Punch Holiday Release, which is a blend of 3 different naturally processed coffees, 2 anaerobic naturals and 1 traditional natural, coming from Cafe Granja La Esperanza in Colombia, Gao's Estate in China, and Familia Salazar in Costa Rica. Now, I previously in a video talked about how when brewing naturals, often we like to use methods that allow us to grind on the more coarse side of things. Today, we're going to look at a slightly different approach to brewing naturals. So, we've got our Hario Metal V60 here, paired with our Cafe Abaca filters, and 20 grams of our Holiday Punch coffee. So we can go ahead and add this 20 grams straight to our brewer there. Give it just a little bit of a shake to level it off. And make sure our scale is on and zeroed. Now, this method is going to start the same as our standard go-to daily driver 4-pour method. However, we are going to be brewing this brew as a slight concentrate and diluting it at the very end of the brew. Sometimes this is referred to as bypass brewing. So I've got this coffee ground on the slightly finer side of the pour over range. The total brew water is going to be 330 grams, but we are only going to pour 300 over the dripper itself. My 20 grams of coffee, and our kettle is set to 90 degrees Celsius, or roughly 194 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so let's get brewing. So start our timer there. Once again, this is following the method of our standard 4-pour. So we've got 25 grams center pour, and then spiral around the edge up to 100 grams for our first pour here. And we're now gonna wait for the 45-second mark to begin our second pour. So you can see it's just slowly draining down there. And you'll notice that I have a little cup to the side there. That is to move our dripper to at the end of this brew method. So pulling up on 45 seconds here, beginning our second pour, which is going to be 80 grams, the first 40 center, and the second 40 spiral around the edge, up to 180. If you're just slightly shy, you can top it up there. You don't have to hit these numbers perfectly exact. It's okay if you're off by a couple grams here or there. So then our third pour is going to begin at 1 minute and 15, which we're coming up to now. And once again, this third pour is going to be another 80 gram pour. The first 40 is going to be a center pour up to 220, and then spiral around the edge for our second 40, which is going to bring us to 260. And this last pour, we're going to begin at 1 minute and 45 seconds. And it is only going to be a 40 gram pour, and we're just going to do a spiral from the center out right from the beginning. So pulling up on 45 seconds now, 145. And so just gentle spiral there, all the way up to 300. Now we're going to let this fully draw down, and we are aiming for a drawdown window somewhere between 205 up to 215. There's a little bit of room for error, so you can see we just finished at about 207. And so we're now going to remove our dripper, put it over in our little catch cup there, re-zero our scale, and add our remaining 30 grams directly to our dripper. By brewing in this method, we are making sure that we are stopping short of brewing over our bed of coffee before we start to pull out the over-extracted notes, and that additional little pour of water directly into the carafe helps separate out our tasting notes and gives us a little bit more clarity in the cup. So once again, we had 20 grams of coffee, to 330 grams of total brew water. However, the last 30 grams were poured just as a straight bypass into the carafe. But as always, please play around, enjoy different brew methods. You can also brew this coffee like a previous natural that was on our menu, and using a more coarse method with a dripper or filter that is a slower drawdown. And have fun.